Okay, so we will start off with the YouTube. So I'm going to be reading it and then I'm going to be answering it to the best of my ability. So, what different things influence your ideas for the different parts of the lore? I write, and sometimes I'll get a new idea from a YouTube video I watched that was completely unrelated, and other times it comes from a friend or other concept I've already come up with. Oopsie, there's still a read more. Oh god. Okay, good. Not too much. I've only learned a small portion of the lore so far because I can't always catch up on streams, but it's all amazing. Keep up the great work. Thank you. So influencing, I mean, everyone gets influences, like influence. Everyone gets influenced by stuff. Just stuff in general. That just happens. You just get influenced. That could be from video games, that could be from just, other people saying their own ideas and stuff like that. Like, for example, almost every single one of my characters, except for Chompers is completely original, came up from my mind. Shiri, the original visuals were inspired by Tet from No Game No Life. And Yugi was inspired by Vanitas from, the Vanitas anime. So you're always going to be inspired by something. Like you're always going to find something to be inspired by. And it's up to you to, make it your own. Be creative. Find a way to make it so you're not, it's your own thing. Like, for example, I look nothing like Tet anymore. And my lore, my character design, all that stuff, nothing like him. But just crazy bunny boy that's an alchemist and tests on people but sells flowers. It's an original concept, and it can evolve over time. At first, if we're talking about really old Shiri lore, because I used to be a manager for people, I was actually just a manager bun, and I had always done the alchemy thing. And so eventually, when I stopped being a manager and I started to turn my own lore into lore, I switched from being a manager to an owner. So now I'm like, okay, so it's still got to keep the whole theme of like professional manager owner thingy. So I own a flower shop because that makes sense, because flowers are used to make potions. And then it all kind of, you just sit down, you let your imagination go, and you figure out reasons for everything. Like, I have a meadow. Why do I have a meadow? Where's this meadow from? What does this meadow do? What do I do in the flower shop? What flowers do I sell? What's my favorite flower? Why does this do this? Why do I have unusual pupils? Why do I have a carrot on my cheek? Why does my flower have constant things? Like, you can, I think one of the best ways of fleshing out your lore and getting inspiration for your lore and writing and stories and stuff like that is just asking questions. And some of the best things that you can ever do is asking questions and listening to questions that aren't from you. Like, find a different person and they'll ask questions that you never even thought of. Like, I'm sure I'm gonna go through this Q&A portion and end up being like, oh my god, I didn't even think about that. And then you'll have an answer for it. You'll think about it for like 5 seconds and you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. This is the reason for that. And then you flesh out your world more, you flesh out your writing more, you flesh out your characters more, so it basically goes down to imagination and answering questions, because the more questions you answer, the more fleshed out it can become. And one of the major things is consistency, though. Don't answer a question one day and have a completely different answer to the question the next day. Like, once you are certain and it is concrete, make it stay that way unless someone has character development or something like that. Unless there's a reason for the change, Anyway, I hope that answered the question. I don't know if that did. I hope it did. But basically everything influences my ideas because, I'm constantly hearing things. I play D&D, watch anime, play games, video games, stuff like that. Everything can inspire you. It's just a matter of what inspires you. What do you like? Okay, up next we have, thank you, How would all the storylines come to you? Wouldn't, oh god, it's the same one. It's the same quote. It's not technically different. Okay. How'd you come up with all the storylines come to you? I kind of explained that. Mostly like, I don't know, my brain, that's my answer to that is imagination. And I sat down and I care about lore and I wanted to come up with an interesting story and I want to make my own story. So that is kind of the main reason of like, how did it come to me? It was because I wanted to make an interesting character. I wanted to make an interesting trope. I was already doing yandere stuff. I knew I was making potions. I can work with this, you know, stuff like that, where and eventually everything fell into place. The pieces ended up getting put together. And then once I had the pieces, I then worked on the pieces to make them more detailed. It was originally just a blob, a blur, and you just make it more precise, get more details, more details. And eventually you're gonna have a masterpiece, a fleshed out entire puzzle of like 1,000 puzzle pieces that originally started from 4 jigsaw puzzles, and that's it. What inspired you to make this whole world? I really like lore. I'm a big fan of lore, and I plan on making books in the future, and writing is one of my strong suits. That's what inspired me. You definitely went above and beyond, so I know it means a lot to you. Like the quiz to find what Fluffle you are, and the website to making one of your own custom ones, plus, you know, everything else. Yeah, I put a lot of time and effort into my lore, which is why I'm always so sad to hear people don't know I have lore, or you know, they just don't know. It's like, they'll watch my streams, and a lot of times my streams don't really go too much into the lore. Or they'll watch like an ASMR video and they'll just be like, well, this is ear kisses. This makes me happy. But they don't know, like, you know, and some people will come in and they'll be like, whoa, why are we in jail? I swear to God, I've gotten that question so many times when I'm using my Chambers background. And it's like, it's lore. If you knew the lore, you'd know. So that's why I'm making this video. So all of the lore is going to be put into one concise place. It's going to be very nice, very good. You'll have everything you need. It's right here. Okay, up next. Hear about the origin of the Fluffles. How they were first created is very intriguing. So basically, they made a potion. The potion's been made. So you're at, I think this question is asking, how did I create the potion and how did the very first one create it? The very first one would have just been created from, I could come up with a really interesting story for this one. I technically do not have the origin story of the Fluffle. There's 2 different ways this can go by. I'll give you my 2 ideas, and I don't know which one is completely canon yet. This is the thing of like asking question and equal. This is why people ask questions. It's very nice. The basic one, and what I kind of just like imagined immediately, and what I'm sure I would go by if I am lazy, is it was just an experiment and then it happened and I found the potion and I rolled with it. But what could be cuter would be that this was one of the few potions I made when I was a young bun, and like it was one of my first original potions, and I didn't have anyone to test it on, so eventually I was able to. I've just had this potion sitting since I created it when I was younger, and finally once I had my first test subject, I was able to turn them into a Fluffle. And then I basically studied that Fluffle, and then they created more of them, I guess. That would be my guess of how that would happen. I'm not entirely sure yet. I will definitely write an origin story of the first Fluffle and like a little short story about that. I think it could be very fun. There's a lot of potential here. I do not have an affirmative answer for this one. And then we will scroll down. Hello. Oh, I have a question. How many questions? 3. Okay. Oh, I have a question. Except the seeking knowledge part, is there any reason on why Shiri started learning alchemy and why he is willing to go to such extreme measures when testing his potions? So yes and yes. Shiri started learning alchemy from Papa Bun, who was an alchemist and made potions. There was something, since both Papa Bun and Mama Bun originated from Kamimaru and they moved over down here and founded Bloomland. The thing that so Mama Bun loved flowers, so she was obsessed with flowers and tried getting flowers from all over the continent, and which is why the meadow is so expansive. There's like one of each flower here. And the Papa Bun brought over the alchemy from like the magical continent, so he had something to work on and something that felt familiar, and it was like having a little piece of home despite being away from home. So Shiri got obsessed with flowers and the potions because he spent a lot of time with his parents and stayed inside a lot, so you know they would spend a lot of time with them. And why is he willing to go through extreme measures when testing his potions? Shiri has a certain set of mindset, or like a mindset of well, like it's a very like it's this one's a little hard to explain. So Shiri's always had like sadism, I guess. And if you kind of think of like, if I think a pretty good example would be like Dexter from the you know the show where it's like a forensic scientist was a serial killer but only killed serial killers, I believe was the premise of that show. And so Shiri was never a murderer, hasn't like I'm pretty sure the only body count that Shiri has is, you know, the parents that accidentally died, which technically wasn't his fault. It was his fault that he started the fire, but it wasn't his fault that they came inside. But he sure, it could be considered torture, but he never kills people because everyone has value. He sees potential in everyone, and he is helping these horrible human beings that have done horrible crimes a purpose. He is letting them use their potential in a way that can help others, which is with his experiments, with his potions. He sees it as he is like he's helping the world, and also in more way than one. You know, like his potions are supposed to have really, really good effects for society in general, and he's doing it on people that are like what's it called, that are like criminals that have done like horrible things. And so instead of someone going on the streets and killing innocent people, they're locked up in the cell and being tested on multiple different, you know, potions that could end up helping people and saving people's lives. So instead of taking lives, they're saving lives. And Shiri himself isn't taking any lives because they are way more useful to him alive than they are dead. So he wrings out their potential to their limits, where even though they may want to die, they're not going to be able to die. And Shiri does not test on Fluffles, by the way. It is only the people that are in the chambers. There are two types of people in the chambers. There's the Patreon people, who are the loyal and like voluntary test subjects. So they're not necessarily bad people. If anything, the only thing bad they would have would be like giving into temptation and stuff like that. They would definitely be testing a lot of the less harmful or the unstable post. Like they wouldn't be testing unstable or harmful or things that Shiri just has absolutely no idea what the potion will do. They're testing more of the more beneficial ones, but still, you know, we don't know exactly what they're gonna do. And then there's just the bad people, you know, the horrible criminals that like would try to go into the back rooms to try and rob Shiri, or you know, they just kind of led there on their own. They may have an appeal to the door that is obviously do not enter this door, because the door has an aura to it of, you know, keep out. And for people that are bad, that aura of keep out may be alluring to them. Yeah, that's why Shiri's so extreme when testing his potions. He doesn't test on good people, and these bad people are now going to be able to do good. And he also doesn't kill them. He basically uses potential to its fullest form. Was he always sadistic, or did something cause him to be sadistic / Andre? So this one is a maybe. I'm not entirely sure yet. He was either always sadistic, or it was a side effect to when he tested on himself. It could have heightened his emotions, and that could have in turn made him way more sadistic than he would have been. Though it would be a mixture of the two of them. It's probably a mixture of both. The potions have like kind of heightened his emotions, and it's like heightened some emotions and dampened some others. Because like he doesn't, if anything, yeah, like I don't know, maybe they heightened the wrong emotion, who knows. And then like, you know, that's how I feel about that. The lore of the Fluffle mentioned in the doc on Discord is 100% canon, and what Shiri thinks / feels about the Fluffle. So the Fluffle, the document on the Discord, it's the Fluffle. It's written by the sadistic Fluffle. It's not written by Shiri. It's not what Shiri thinks about the Fluffle. It's what the sadistic faction thinks about the Fluffle. It is completely written about the sadistic faction, and the sadistic faction has even written a section dedicated specifically towards Shiri called Him, where they don't trust me because I'm too nice to them and I have no reason to be this nice to them. But it's because they're Fluffle. They're my precious. I see them as my children. I would never harm the Fluffle. I care about the Fluffle a lot. This is like me, both me as a person and also Shiri as a character loves the Fluffle dearly. Like he would protect always. Are there limits to Shiri's potions, or can he just make whatever potion he wants / can? There are technically no limits, but I have to find it. I have to find the components needed. So it's like I would have to spend months and months researching to get a specific thing that I want based off of all of my other experiments. So everything, yes, is possible. However, if you want a specific like effect, or I'm trying to find a specific effect, it would take a lot of time and research to get the specific thing that I want. Does each character from an idea you had, or some of them an inspiration from other things? Each of my characters' backstories and lore has been my own and has not been inspired by anything. However, the design wise, like look wise, like I said, I was inspired by Tet. Chompers had no inspiration. It was just, I wrote down a description, and it was created from a description. And then Yuki was inspired by Vanitos, and of course I made them my own. I had my own spin, my own reasons, my own stuff like that. So up next, not really a lore question, but how did you come up with the potions? That technically is a lore question. How do I come up with like potion ideas? I think of what would be cool, and I turn that into a potion. And I try to think of really creative potions, such as like the infinitely growing clothing potion, or the infinitely falling petals, or stuff like that. I think of something creative, and I think of how could this happen realistically? What would you need to add? What would you need to do? And then, a little bit of imagination here and there. When did you decide on literal body horror as a component for this adorable Benoit world? I have always been a huge fan of horror. I love horror, so almost all of my characters are going to have something dark about them, whether it be a tragedy or they're the ones who caused a tragedy. So for example, Chompers had a tragedy happen to him because of Shiri, who caused the tragedy. If you look at Yuki's story, he outlived his lover, so that's depressing. He's probably the least horror of my characters ever. He's a pretty happy fellow. He's but he does have a little bit of like, he's not entirely a completely good person. Like he wouldn't be what's it called? He wouldn't be lawful good. He's more so chaotic good, I would say. I would say he's probably chaotic good. Where he's not gonna like, he would never like really hurt someone, but he also like, if he had the choice of saving the world or being entertained, he wouldn't save the, like he needs to have some form of being entertained or find a way to make it entertaining. Otherwise he just wouldn't do it, if that makes sense. So it's like, if he had to save the world, but there's like nothing, like that the world would just be boring, he wouldn't save it, you know? I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Maybe I'll find a better way to explain it later on. Okay. So we will do this one, I guess. What happened to Shiri and Chomper's parents? Is it actually Shiri's fault? Two, does Shiri even like us? He like flip-flops between not caring about us and caring a little too much. So, this question kind of depends. It kind of depends. I mean, one, I've already answered what happened to Shiri and Chomper's parents. Technically, it's not Shiri's fault, but also technically it is. He started the fire, but he didn't tell them to come in here and try to save him. He was perfectly fine. But they're good parents, so they don't want their kid to die, so they kind of went in and then got a little bit of the touch of the fire, and then that fire ended up like, you can't really put it out until it burns what it touches, and then once there's nothing left to burn, it just stops. It stops burning. Great way of getting rid of evidence. Not that I'd know. So technically it's Shiri's fault, but also it's like not at the same time. Like he started the fire, and the fire killed people. But it wasn't his intention to kill, if that makes sense. His only intention was bring brother home, brother back. Brother, me want to see brother. Bring brother back. That was his intention. So it was his only goal. That's all he strived to do there. And does Shiri even like us? Like he flip-flops between not caring at all and caring a little bit too much. So there's 3 different characters when it comes to you as a person. So there's the Fluffle. Shiri will always, you as a person, you like yourself, you are a Fluffle. That is what you are. Like if you had a character in the world and you could customize them and like put a face, you know, like if you had your own like customizable character that is just pure yours and yours alone, it would be a Fluffle. Shiri adores the Fluffle. Shiri will always love you unconditionally. So think of the Fluffle as your own OC. And then think of the listener as yourself. There's 2 different types of listeners. There's a listener that's the roommate. There's the listener that's, you know, that lives with you, basically. And then there's the puppy. The puppy is from the point of view of a bad person that's in the chambers. That is whenever Shiri is being sadistic and mean and horrible, oftentimes he will say puppy. That is because that is not the listener. That is not you. That is someone who is in the chambers. You would never be locked up in the chambers as the listener. You would always get the happy yandere that loves you. You would not get the I'm torturing you. I'm brainwashing you. I'm doing all this stuff to you. I'm not experimenting on you. Shiri would not experiment on the listener. Shiri, however, it would experiment on his puppies, which is, you know, the people that are locked up in the chambers that are horrible people. So whenever it gets to the dark kind of sadism / yandere type stuff, that is towards the puppy. When it comes to the wholesome yandere or just the wholesome stuff in general, that is towards the listener. And if there's anything that talks about, you know, when I'm streaming and stuff like that, I talk about the Fluffle. That's also technically you. And yes, I like you. So you want to learn more? I want to learn more about the connection between Yuki and Chompers. Are you guys friends, enemies, or simply don't know each other? Shiri, Yuki, and Chompers. Okay, so basically, let's talk about Shiri and Chomper. We'll kind of go by like a little triangle thing where each of the characters and how they like are with each other. So Shiri adores, loves everything and everything about Chompers. Like absolute love, adore, endear, would kill for. That is, they are twin brothers. They are both bunny boys, though Chompers has the better tail. They are both bunny boys, but while Shiri adores and endears and beloves Chompers, his name's Yairi, by the way. It's not actually Chompers, but Chompers is a really cute nickname because he has sharp teeth and he chomps. Chompers despises Shiri and blames Shiri because, I mean, like, it was technically Shiri's fault, but basically Chompers believes that Shiri killed his parents, and like it was like basically Chompers never tried to get over that or try. He just wallowed in hatred for like 500 years, you know? So Chompers is his one goal in life, and he has no goal aside from that, is to kill Shiri. Because Shiri basically like kind of took everything away. And like if Shiri wasn't, so one of the major reasons why Chompers specifically just hates Shiri is because Shiri was smiling while his parents were like burning and dying next to him. And Chompers has no idea. That's why the only thing Chompers said was, why did you do this? Why are you smiling? Why? Just why? And Shiri is smiling because he saw Chompers, because he really likes Chompers. That's why he was smiling. And he was probably also a little disassociating from the trauma that was, you know, his parents dying next to him. But Chompers just sees this creepy looking bunny smiling at him as his parents are burning next to him. So like Chompers did not get a good sight, did not witness very good of Shiri, so Chompers had no reason to not think it was on purpose or trying to murder or anything like that. So that was that's kind of their connection. That's why Chompers hates Shiri, and that's why Shiri is like what's it called? And Shiri just loves Chompers. He's his twin brother. He loves him, and that's also the only family he has left as well, technically. So and when it comes to Shiri and Yuki and Shiri is jealous, very annoyed, finds Yuki infuriating, but doesn't hate him. He doesn't like how like Yuki's super hot and everyone seems to love Yuki, and the fact that he can't get a read on Yuki. There's been no one in the world that Shiri hasn't been able to 5D 10D chess with, but Yuki, zero read, does not know. And like the only one that could beat Shiri in his territory would be Yuki. And then when it comes to Yuki and Shiri, Yuki is here for a reason. He's in the shop for a reason. He's getting to know Shiri for a reason. That would be spoilers for the story though, so I can't exactly reveal it, but he's there for a reason. And essentially he's kind of there to watch Shiri. He thinks the reason why he's there is because one, he was asked to be there by who knows, you know why. And then what's it called? And also he thinks it's going to be entertaining here. He thinks that a lot of interesting things happen around Shiri, and a lot of funny, interesting, and entertaining things can happen. Also, it's very fun to tease Shiri, which is why Yuki especially likes Shiri. And then Yuki and Chompers are both there. I mean, like, we'll know how they feel about each other. Like, they don't know each other. There's like no relationship between Yuki and Chompers. So, you know, the plot will have to play out where they can have any kind of like interactions with each other. So once Yuki and Chompers are working together, their relationship will be more established on, you know, does Yuki like Chompers? Does Chompers hate Yuki? Stuff like that. But I could see it being a pretty good combo. They'd both make for a pretty funny combo, I think. Because Yuki is the fucking smug, playful, and then Chompers would be the modesty. So basically anything Yuki says, Chompers would fall for. If Yuki was doing anything like, you know, something to tease Chompers or do something like that. So it would be a pretty cute dynamic, I think. For those asking about Shiri and Yari's parents, in the first encounter it plays the sound of burning, so if I had to guess, they're probably burnt, or Shiri started it because since Chomper blames him. Don't know if any of this is true though, that's just a theory. Just a game theory. You're completely correct on your game theory. I hope you feel good about yourself. You did great. I'm so proud of you. You just bam, right on the spot. Amazing. Mwah. Fantassimo. Did great. Your theory was wonderful, Foxy boy. Very proud of you. And that's some of the hints. That's some of the hints that I leave. Or if you want to do your own theorizing, I leave hints in almost all of my lore type of stuff. Think of one. Aside from the characters that have already been introduced, how many do you have planned? If we're talking about like actual characters that would be working in the shop, possibly one more, so a total of 4 characters. I mean, there's going to be more characters in the story, because you know you're gonna have to have a president. You're gonna have to have, you know, like every person in the High Council will have to be a character. However, if you're talking about main characters like with the gang, with the boys, you know, like hanging out alongside, you know, like Yairi Chompers and I called Yairi Chompers 2 different people, Yairi, Yuki, and Shiri. One more person I'm thinking. I haven't completely decided yet, but I realized there hasn't been one person that's like native to the modern continent that's here. Like we don't have like an actual just human regular boy. We have, you know, we have a 2 bunny boys and a fox boy. We don't have like a human. And I don't want to like overrun everyone with a bunch of different characters and stuff like that. And another problem is like, I feel like having 4 boys is a lot. I would like to have 1 girl, but I also can't voice girls. So it's just, I can't really do a girl. But I might, if there is another character that comes out of it, it would be someone from the modern continent. It would be a human, so a flat out normal human, and they'd probably be a guy. But if I ever learn how to voice girls, then it would be a girl. Because, you know, four guys is a lot. What is the exact type of flower you use in your head? It's so pretty. This is a cherry blossom, but my flower changes depending on the outfit that I have on. I can give you an example. If I have just this outfit on, the flower is now much more creepy looking, as are my eyes, and I also have little fangies. Yeah, so it depends on whatever outfit I'm wearing. You can see this in different artworks that I have. Like if I have my like bathing trunks on, and there's like a sunflower in my hair. If I have like white clothes on, it's like a white flower. There's also, like, for example, when I was in Santa Claus outfit, there was a mistletoe in my hair. Stuff like that. You can see it in the art. I make sure to always request that whenever I get art from artists, that if they change my outfit, make sure to change the flower in my hair to match the outfit. Okay, so far as I know, flower shop basement and potions. Do the potions come from the flowers? Yes, and also there's also the Fluffle burrow. What's Shiri's favorite flower and why? Cherry blossom. He's used to it, and I think they're very pretty. My question is this: can I? Oh, you can't see it. Oopsie. Question is this: can I date Chompers? Out of all the characters that like could romance, Chompers is the highest chance of being romanceable. Yuki will never date someone. Shiri will never fuck someone, for lack of a better word. Shiri is way too busy, and also I don't know. It would be too dangerous to date Shiri. I think romance would be off the table. And he's, you know, like, I don't know. So basically, Chompers would be the pretty much the only one you would actually be able to like understandably date. That would be kind of it. So like, I don't know. That's how I see it. Like, still, like, dating Chompers would probably be pretty rough. But I think he's the one that has a chance of being the most normal out of the 3. Was my character born a bunny or were they turned into a bunny? My race is Kamimi. That's my race. We are basically, technically, I'm not even a bunny. I would be a jackalope or jackalope or whatever the magical continent version of bunnies are. Because like there's different fauna in both continents. So bunnies don't exist on the magical continent. There's a different kind of animal that looks like bunny. That's more of a mythical kind. I believe they're called jackalopes, but I think they're also supposed to have antlers, but I don't have them. So, oh well, sucks. I just get the ears. The ears and the tail. I don't get to have the fancy antlers. Forgive me. But yeah. So I was born a bunny. I did not like turn into a bunny. It was born. How often do you have to brush and clean the big floofy ears? Every day, multiple times a day. All of the alone time I have is often doing that because they are very sensitive. So I would make a lot of weird noises, so I want to make sure that I am in like a sound isolated room so no one can hear those for free. You have to pay for those noises, buddy buckaroon. So me being, I have a few. Okay, you have questions. One, is there ever going to be any detect lore drops in the future videos to look out for on YouTube? Oh, detective lore drops. So for Detective Shiri? Wait, what? Okay, your question's a little confusing. Are you talking about detective lore? They were making a new detective. It's not detective, but it's like it's the Detective Boys Part 2, if that's what you mean. But it's not really a lore drop. It's not lore. I don't know if I completely get that question. There will be more lore in the future, if that's what you mean. If it's detective stuff, maybe. How or when did Shiri learn alchemy? Well, not baby, but when it was a young bun, he would watch Papa Bun. What's the Foxman's deal? I know some stuff about Chomps, but nothing about him. Is he a DLC character? He is not a DLC character. He's here because I can't explain everything, but he's there for a reason. And he comes from the magical continent, and for some reason Shiri can't give a read on him. Those are your hints. But he's there for a reason, and that's really all I can give you. But yeah, but he's not a DLC character. He's a very important character. He's very, very, very strong. There's another hint. He's super strong. Okay, up next. Do I stand Bjork? Bjork. The size of the vial that affected okay, hold on. The size of the vial has the effect that Shiri looks 7 inches deep into your mom is what I think, but I don't know the size of my potions. It happens. I mean, I don't really pay attention to that. Is Shiri a bun tail swirling like a normal rabbit, or is it like a pom-pom? So Chompers has, I could show you. I could just show you my tail. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Gotta pay for that. I have cotton poof, while Chompers has something more like a deer tail, which is the much nicer poof, which I feel like you do see on bunnies. So basically, I have the cotton poof bunny tail, which is I have the cotton tail, bunny tail, and then Chompers has the, I guess, the swirling tail rather than the pom-pom. Yeah, so we both have different tails. I miss you. Understand the main Sona, Shiri, who is Chompers, and Yuki. Okay. So Shiri is me. Hi, what's up? Chompers is Yairi. He is twin brother of Shiri. And then Yuki is a hot fox man that seemingly appeared out of nowhere and is now demanding a job So because of that, Chompies and Yuki will be getting a job at the flower shop. So there'll be more shenanigans that can ensue. What are the coordinates of your universe? I can't tell you that. I don't want to dox myself. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to move this down here because we're at the bottom of the page. Okay. What the frick did you do to make chompers hate you and want to kill you? I have answered this one. I'm not gonna answer it again. Murder, fire, murder, fire, murder, smile. That's summed up. Fire, murder, smile. Sexuality wise, does Shiri swing both ways or what? So sexually, so like it's a weird spot. So if we're gonna talk about Shiri's sexuality, it would probably be classified as ace. But also like Shiri wouldn't care. Like if how Shiri would get off would be through experimenting, like actual experimentation, like stuff like that. It would basically, Shiri would just be really fucking kinky. That's how I would explain it. He wouldn't really date. He also wouldn't really what's it called? Wouldn't really fuck anyone either. Like, but he would be able to get his pleasure off on like experimenting on people that want to be, specifically want to be. Though if it comes from like so there's like two different types of pleasures. There's like the happy pleasure where it's like he just enjoys, torturing the bad people. And then there would be the more lewd pleasure, which would come from experimenting on people that want to be experimented on. It would be a mutual thing pretty much, but I would say he's more so ace if anything. But I mean, like, he also, I don't know, it would be a mixture between ace and pan, one of the two. It's a mixture. I don't know if they have one of those. I'm not the biggest, I don't know too much about sexualities. I don't know all of them, but if there's something in between ace and pan, that'd probably be Shiri. What even is the lore? I don't know where to find it. So confused about what's going on in your basement. That's the chambers. That's where we keep up the bad peoples. But you can find the lore all over the place. A good place to start about the lore is if this video would be a great place. But there is a lore playlist over on the what's it called? The ASMR channel. There's a lore playlist called heavy lore playlist. It's ASMR's. There's also a lore tab on the Patreon, which the Patreon would be probably the best place to get lore. Pineapple pizza is my answer. And why did I choose to be a bunny boy? I feel like bunnies most suit me. I feel like bunny is very, very accurate to me. That's how I feel. I feel like I made a right choice with bunny. Also, the ears are very nice. I just wish bunnies had longer tails. I can't really do stuff with my tail, like VTuber wise, whereas like cats can have like cat tail swishing back and forth, and foxes can have that huge bushy fox tail going back and forth. Okay, and that concludes the YouTube portion. Up next we have the Discord portion, which I'll try to go by as fast as I can. I will try. Okay. Is it this one? It is. Men, yes or no? Yes. And no. Or yes. All of the above is my answer. Is the SCP Foundation aware of your existence? SCP does not exist in my world. Is the Chaos Insurgi aware of your presence? I don't know what that is. Blunk, 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 blunk. Are people with animal characteristics naturally in the world? And following question, are you a natural? Okay, hold on. I got this. Are people with natural. Okay, basically, Kamini. Your answer is Kamimimi. Yes, that is a race. They are a race that originally founded in the magical continent. However, have been moved over to the modern continent, and so now they are on both continents. They are the only race that are in both continents. There is a somewhat human race over in the magical continent, though they are not exactly humans. If anything, they would have a different name to them because humans cannot do magic. However, whatever is in the magical continent can. What is the floor layout of the potion stop? You can actually check it out in the Bunny Blossoms, both the public VR chat world as well as the Bunny Blossoms manga. You'll be able to see the layout of the flower shop. I will not be able to give you architectural plans of the shop, sadly, because I do not have the architectural plans. However, you can explore the shop yourself in real person, in real time, using the VR chat world, the public world. It's called Bunny Blossoms. Look it up. How does magic work in the world? Does it only via potions, or can you go Alakazam and shoot lasers from your fingers? So basically, there's an entire magic mana system. Basically, how magic works is you have mana and you convert mana into things that affect the real world. So you as a person store mana inside of you. That mana is then converted into, let's say, fire. So you would convert the mana that you're storing inside of you into mana. There would probably be other components and stuff like that you can work towards too later on, make more advanced spells, stuff like that. There would probably be different components that may have to be met. Some of them may be somatic, some of them may be like you need a wand and stuff like that. Some of it may just be you think it and it happens. That's stuff that still needs to be a little more fleshed out because I want to make mine original and unique. So I already think my magic itself, the system, is very, very unique, but I don't know how they cast it just yet. I don't know if it's just, it happens when they do it. Like they don't have to say anything, they don't have to do it. It's just they think it and they convert it naturally. Or if they need to go through steps or have different kind of things to help them be able to cast that. Okay. And now, does the shop get regular visitors / patrons? How profitable is it? What currency is used? So the shop gets regular visitors and patrons. Yes, it is a good shop. It's basically like pretty much the only, like, it's the best flower shop in the world. It's the only flower shop that has all of the flowers in the world. So you would get people that are visiting Plumeland that would want to go to the shop. It's like a renowned flower shop. It would be very profitable, especially during years that are romantic, or because you get flowers for a lot of stuff. You can get flowers for funerals, you can get flowers for people that you love, you can get flowers for holidays, you can get flowers for stuff, and Shiri has every type of flower in the meadow, And what currency is used? The currency currently does not have a name. However, the countries all have their own currencies. The most used currency is the Hukian's currency. I do not know what Hukian's currency is called. I don't have a name for it yet. It'd probably be like Hukia or Hukiites, or I don't know. Like Huns maybe. I don't know. I haven't come up with a name for it yet. But the typical currency came from Hukia. How long do you intend on continuing making the lore? Is there a lot of work to be done? Yes, there's a lot of work to be done. There's constant mangas. There's, constant lore updates that I have to do. I have to flesh out a bunch of different lore. There's a bunch of characters that need to be fleshed out. There's technically 8 whole continents that need to be made. There's needs to be places in those continents, peoples in those continents, stuff in those continents. They all have their own systems, like how there's the mana system and the potential system. There's probably going to be a draconic, because there's a draconic invasion, so there has to be a dragon continent. So it would probably be the draconic continent, and the energy source would be draconic, and so they would have like draconic powers and stuff like that. But that's all stuff that I will figure out in the future. It's a lot of work. I want to make books and stuff like that, and I plan on continuing making the lore for as long as I'm able to do content creation, because I care about lore a lot. I like lore. What are the seasons like and how many are there? They would be like I don't know if it would change per continent, probably not. But I feel like it would probably just be similar to I mean the seasons might do different things in different continents, but I think it would still be the seasons just like how Earth has it, where it would be winter, autumn, summer, and spring. There's only one moon, one sun, you know, like it's the typical world stuff. There are no other planets, so this is the only planet so far that they know of, and I'm not planning on exploring other planets because I'm not a big fan of like I like astronomy, but I don't really like when they start getting techie space stuff. So it's just, it would be very, very, very far away universes if they were like to be there. It is a very exotic planet though, because of the whole 10 core type of thing. So it's a very special planet. It's very cool. Though it's not like 10 different moons and, you know, like 5 suns and stuff like that. So the world is different, but it is also kind of similar to Earth. It's just if Earth had 10 cores and each core made its own continent, you know? Will there ever be a McDonald's to open up in your world? Probably yes. Would it be called McDonald's? We don't know. But yeah, like there would be a McDonald's like congruent, if not exactly McDonald's. It could even be like there's a McDonald's there, but it's actually a fancy local restaurant because their name is Donald's and they decided to put the Mick in front of it. I don't know. It could be funny. Do they have cars or do they have other kinds of transportation? Everything in the modern continent would be the same as what we have in the real world. So yes, we would have cars, and also any kind of transportation you would want. However, the transportation that is in the modern continent would not be anything like transportation that's in the magical continent. The magical continent's technology is very, very, very not advanced because they don't really have a reason to advance it. They would rather advance their magic. Had you ever had a death occurred while testing subjects? Not very often, if there are any, because Shiri and all of it, he does not want dead test subjects because a dead test subject isn't a good test subject. So they may want to die, but Shiri will do everything in their power to make it so they don't die. Do accidents happen? Probably. But, you know. Is there a cult following other than the Fluffle that treats Shiri like a god? Not that Shiri knows about, mainly because like anyone that sees Shiri's work would be turned into a Fluffle or be locked up into the chamber. So there's no real good way for a cult to even see Shiri. What's Shiri's favorite food? Is there taverns with exotic foods? And I mean, it's what we got in the modern continent, you know, like, I don't know, you can go to Gordon Ramsay's. I guess it would be slightly different named than Gordon Ramsay, but you know, you could just go to a fancy restaurant if you want. Favorite food would probably be something simple. Honestly, it'd probably be mac and cheese. It'd be the same as me. It'd be like Kraft mac and cheese, just basic box mac and cheese. But of course, there would be like restaurants that have good foods, and there would be taverns with exotic foods in the magical continent as well. How popular is Butter's Kitchen? So Butter is someone in the Discord, and so they're a Fluffle member, and they have a restaurant in the little Fluffle burrow. They would be called Butter's Kitchen, and he makes like horrible, horrifying thingies that no one would want to eat. So, you know, it'd probably be popular among the Hyper Fluffle, and maybe the Sleepy, and the Wholesome might be there just to, you know, it'd probably be extremely popular. The Wholesome would be there because they're kind. The Hyper would love it because they, you know, children will put anything in their mouths. Not that the Hypers are children, it's just they have ADHD like them. The Sleepy would just be happy with anything, and then the sadistic ones could probably make some very, very good poisons from whatever comes out of Butter's Kitchen. So it'd probably be popular among all the different Fluffle factions. Who and why the Fluffle? Like when someone new appears, do they just pop into existence, or is there like a portal that they come out of, or is it like fairies and we bloom out of flowers? So basically, when someone invades the chambers, I will, if they're a good person, I will basically kind of like force them to ingest the Fluffle potion, and the Fluffle potion basically enhance and basically separates the soul, your potential in its truest form, and takes it away from your body, and your body would just kind of disappear away, and you would have a new, you're basically, the Fluffle self would just be a husk. And for those of you who don't know, the insides of a Fluffle, you guys are kind of like a plushy like bunny thingy, and the insides of you are petals. You are like whatever flowers on your head, that would be the petals that are inside your body. So you're kind of like a big pillow, a plushy pillow, and so that's what your insides are. But yeah, you guys just, you basically kind of look like one of these wispies, and then like, but it would be like a pure like shining ball of whatever color you are, and then you would just kind of slowly create your Fluffle husk, which would be lacking of any kind of dysphoria, because you would be your perfect body, because you're your perfect self. It basically purifies the soul to its purest form, and then you create a husk yourself. That is why Fluffle, until someone finds a way to destroy souls, Fluffles are immortal. And if they ever destroy the body, you will just, you will eventually just like create your new body. Which is why you're kind of terrifying. Following FDA regulations, come out of a hologram. Nope. What kind of music is there? Just whatever music's like happen, I guess. I mean, you'll be able to hear it because I've commissioned music for each place, so you'll eventually be able to hear what kind of music is from every single place. Have you ever had a test subject rebel against you? Yes, there are actually ASMR scenarios about like test subjects that try to run away and ended up going through the flower maze, the labyrinth, after they tried running away, and of course they were stuck there and trapped there and ended up getting caught by me, Shiri. Is the night sky empty or full of planets and stars? I don't think the night sky would be empty, and it depends on the continent that you're on. Like, for example, it just depends on the continent. In the modern realm, I think the modern realm would be the only place that it would be. There'd be stars in the modern realm. They'd find a way to make it so you're able to see the stars. The magical continent would have probably like more mystical type of things. Think of it as like just a bunch of like glowing fireflies and stuff like that. Very pretty sky, aurora borealis, kind of stuff like that. Like it would just be like a very mystical looking sky at night. Is it true all your toilets in the shop are equipped with bidets? I don't even think I have a toilet in my shop. So, it depends if you're going to the bathroom in front of the hose, I guess. Is there a government with a bounty on Shiri? Is the shop visible to outsides? So government with a bounty on Shiri, kinda yes, but no. Hint, that would be your clue on Yuki. It's not necessarily a bounty, it's more of a, we need to figure out this dude's deal, especially if this dude's gonna be like actually mega scary, because no one gets Shiri right now, and they can't really see what's going on inside. They just see this guy getting a bunch of powerful artifacts, and they don't know what he's doing with it. They don't know that I'm making potions with it, and the potions that I'm making with it, they'd expect to be like world ending type of stuff, you know? So they don't understand Shiri, and they don't know what he's doing with all this like otherworldly stuff, you know? Is the shop visible to outsiders? Yes, of course. The flower shop is a renowned flower shop. A second opening to Butter's Bistro, who knows? Scroll down. Is there a scientific name for any of the created species? What are they? If there are or were, There will be short stories about them later on. Good question. I think you answered it already. Did late night, but I already after learning there is lore. I went through and started reading the quizzes. You guys should all read the quizzes. They're very cool. I tried. There's a lot of lore quizzes on the community tab. You just have to scroll down, and you get the answer if you get it wrong. It's great. What's Shiri's favorite Pringle flavor? Probably cheddar. Cheddar or sour cream. What are the layers of the planet? That's a great question. There's the core, and then it's probably core then crust technically. So it's the core, and then the core makes the land around the core as a protective barrier. And then there's just water in between the different continents. So there's always a core kind of very close by to a core. So it's like basically 2 continents are always connected. So of the 10, it's basically like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Like 2 continents are always connected to each other, and then it is separated by water. Are there other religions? Who do they pray to, and what are their ceremonies like? There of course will be other religions. Have I decided or know of all the religions? No. Are there any actual gods? No. Very, very questionable. It is not a god that created this world, but there could be higher beings that we're just not sure of. But everyone, like in every society, there is going to be religion. There is going to be people that try to worship stuff. So religions will be had. They will pray to whatever their god is, and it is not entirely all that determined that like that they exist or not. Like people are just gonna make religions. Like that's what happens because people want something to believe in. And I don't know their ceremonies yet because I don't know the religions. I would want to make like unique ones, you know. So the tallest mountain and its inhabitant, I have no idea. Yeah, it would just be a big mountain, I guess. I don't is it inhabited? But I guess Mount Tripped would be a good, like there is the Mount Tripped in the magical continent is like a literal, it's a region that is like of mountains and they live in it. So yes, if the Mount Tripped is the tallest mountain, then yes, it is inhabited. It is inhabited by the dwarf people. So I mean, I guess that's kind of answering your question. Tell us your procedures for the average lab experiment, and tell us the procedures if something goes horribly wrong. Do you refer to a material data safety sheet? I would refer to my own notes. I wouldn't have named it material data safety sheet. The average procedures for a lab experiment, I've actually kind of gone over it in one of my ASMRs, which is I have like a little recording, and the scenario is you're listening to my recordings, and I go over, I say the like experiment number, as well as the like the actual like puppy that I'm testing on. I'll say whatever number puppy they are, and then I'll talk about all the effects that have happened in the past, as well as the effects that are happening and what has happened and stuff like that. So I basically, from the average lab experiment is I will give them the potion, and then for the next month or so I will watch to see if there's any differences or if the potion's doing anything, because not all the potions are going to be immediate. Some of them are going to take time, and so you basically note down your stuff, and if something goes horribly wrong, I try to fix it, and then if it doesn't fix, then oh well, now we know what the potion does and we know how to fix it. Or we know what to expect, and a lot of times when something goes wrong, Shiri just has to try and figure out a way to revert whatever effect he did with a new potion. So how deep is the ocean and how big? There's an ocean separating all of the other continents. So like there's basically always 2 continents connected to each other, and then there's just water around any place that like there's just water around every continent, I guess, except for the ones that are connected to each other. Like there's always going to be 2 that are connected somehow, and then there's just going to be water between the other ones, I guess. Hard to explain, but big, I guess. It's whatever separating, whatever there's not continent, there is ocean. If there's not land, there is water. And how deep is it? It'd probably go pretty deep. Like I guess it would go down to the core of like there's no core in the world, so it would just go to, you'd be able to like swim down, and if you keep swimming far enough you'll make it to the other side of the world. There's no like ground, I guess. There's no ground to reach, so like the deep sea is like infinite until you reach the other end to the shallow sea, I guess. I don't know, that's hard to explain. That's a little bit of a brain funk. Unless you end up hitting the, I don't, it's, worlds are confusing. I'll try and figure that one out a little better. Is there an ocean? Yes. Plans to build an amusement park. There are amusement parks. Would I build one? No. Would the Fluffle build one? Maybe. Are there sky islands? There would be sky islands. I mean, the Aurora is technically a sky island because it's just a city that's floating in the sky. But there would definitely be sky islands on different continents and stuff like that, especially because there's already one in the magical continent, so it's definitely a possibility. Is there a race that live in the sea? No, there's no race that lives in the sea, though there might be a continent that is based around the ocean and the sea, and it would be water, but it wouldn't be the sea itself, it wouldn't be the ocean. It would just be like a water type of continent. Who is helping you manage everything? No one. It's just me, though I will be getting 2 workers soon, hopefully. Which is, you know, the Yuki and Chompers. What is the most common race in the modern realm? It is human. In the magical realm, it's the human equivalent, if not elf. One of the two. Basically, each region has their own like basic race, and then they kind of like they have scattered and like migrated across different stuff. So like the major place to find dwarves would be Mount Trout, but there you could still find a dwarf in like other, like in what's it called, like Aurora and stuff like that. So it kind of depends. That's a great one. What kind of religions are there, if there are any, and what are their names? Are genders and asexualities different than ours? Have they like, are there any pronouns you have made? I'd probably keep it the same as Earth, you know, whatever sexualities we have here, whatever genders we have here, any pronouns we've made here, I would be the same thing. Like different, I mean, in different races might have something different though, like in the like the dragons and stuff like that, or the people in the magical continent, like dwarves might have 5 cocks, we don't know. So like, as for humans in the modern continent, same as here. For the other continents, that depends on the race, I guess. And then I would, you know. And then as for the religion comment, I said, yeah, like religion, yeah, people are going to make religions, whether or not there is something to worship. Whether or not something's really there, there will always be religions. That's just people, that's what people do. They will find something to worship, even if it's a fucking watermelon. Is the toilet paper 1-ply or 2-ply? It's 5-ply. Is there any peasant class and a higher class? That's the entire concept of what was it called? Hemenbach. Hemenbach? I think it's Hemenbach. I believe it's Hemenbach. Yeah, Hemenbach. That's basically, they're made up of basically slaves, peasants, and basically everyone who is running away from the war effort or trying to escape a horrible situation. They kind of hotpot it over into this place. So there's like the only place that might still have, I mean, like people are definitely gonna have peasant classes and high classes and stuff like that, but when it comes to like peasants, like actual peasants and actual slaves, like one place was made up of them, and now they have turned into their own like strong country and strong government and strong, like they're very respectable now, and they worked off of hard work. Though the only place that would actually still have slaves would probably be Slottenberg. However, they're it's frowned upon, obviously, because it's not good to have that. So it's like kind of fading away as time goes on, but you can still see some people have them. Is there a resident smith for all your tools? Maybe. I don't know. That one I wouldn't be able to tell you. Are there royals in different cultures? Yes. For example, they're both in both continents. There's like a king and a, like there some of the governments are like ruled by a king or a queen or stuff like that. and then everything is going to have different cultures as well. Everything has a different culture. It depends on, like, for example, in the magical continent, there's Aleutians who basically believe in the circle of life and hunt and be hunted and stuff like that. They have sort of a tribal type of culture, versus the Kamimaru, which is more of the very, very peaceful, living with the animals, never hurt a soul, like more of like a hippie, I guess, for lack of a better word, like very, very strong nature people. Both of them are very, their culture is very nature oriented, but one of them is peaceful with the animals and the other one is respect. Like both of them are respecting the animals, they're just doing it in their own different way. Like one is hunting and then one is living with them. So, you know, and then in the modern realm, there's just the different cultures of, you know, like Slottenberg has a king, and they stick true to their culture and their things of, like, they have their own spirit. Like another example would be Luminescence Day for the Lumites. They have their own culture. It's all about like building stuff and inventions, and then that's like their culture. That's what it's based around. Have there been any natural disasters that changed the world completely? Natural? No, not natural. Natural. I mean, technically everything's natural if they were created from the cores, but like there's a draconic invasion and there was a war, the Requiem War, the Great Requiem War. There's two kind of changed the landscape of both of the continents, and are why whatever countries and regions have formed today are there. Like before the draconic invasion, there was no Dementius. I think that's the name of it. Because Aurora wasn't floating in the sky yet. It was just in the land. It wasn't until after the draconic invasion that the chunk of land was lifted from the air into the air. Has there ever been any bun-made disasters? Yes, the fire that killed my parents would be one of them. What kinds of environments are there, and are any of them uninhabitable? Of course, there's going to be uninhabitable places across the map, such as like mountain spaces and stuff like that, or things that are just so like there will always be stuff that is a little uninhabitable. People may try, but it's just not good. But I mean, it depends on which continent that you're talking about for the different environments. What size of my bed? It changes depending on where I sleep. Wherever I sleep is where I sleep. What metals are mined for, and which are more valuable, and which are used for more general purpose? So basically it depends. Once again, this depends on the continent that you're on. Every continent's going to have different materials because it's made from different sources. So something, you know, whatever we have in the modern world, like your answer, if it's for the modern world, is whatever is like from like Earth would be the answer. Think of like the modern like continent, like Earth, and whatever we have in Earth, like it's the same in the modern continent. Though for like the magic continent, it would depend on the ores. Like you would just kind of know, I guess. I won't be able to have every single name of all the fancy ores like true silver and stuff like that, like mithril. Some of the more mystical fantasy type of ores would be found in that place. How big can sea creatures get? We don't know. It hasn't been explored. People don't really explore the sea. There's not really a reason to, and it's very, very dangerous because the farther you get, well, so there's two reasons why people don't want to explore and they struggle to explore. Around the edges of like basically the end of the reach of your core, it becomes very unstable, making everything harder to like sustain. Like for example, the reason why it's so hard to swim in Shiri's lake is because it has a bunch of unstable potential energy, because he is at the edge of the continent pretty much. So he's getting a bunch of unstable potential there, so it makes the water unnaturally heavy, and the dark forest is literally in between the two continents, like right at the edge of both of them. So he's getting unstable mana and unstable potential at their like most purest form. So it's like it would just be dangerous to go out into the sea. So people haven't really explored that. And so people wouldn't know about the sea creatures. Is it like Rick or Morty or Futurama? Can they travel to other worlds? I personally am not a big fan of like galactic travel. So I'm gonna say no, just because I personally, as the creator, like as a person, I don't really like that stuff. Way before their time. So I guess it would be way before any kind of time that you would start going through different galaxies and stuff like that. And then so it depends on the magical continent, the modern. I mean, like everything that's in the think about it is the modern world. If we can't travel to galaxies, neither can we. You know, like in the real world, if we can't go to different universes and time zones and their time you know, time shenanigans, then neither can people from Usaga. And there is magical jobs. There would be entirely magical jobs in the magical continent. I mean, I guess there would be some kind of modern stuff, but the modern jobs, like regular jobs, would be in the modern continent, and magical jobs would be in the magical continent. They're not really too much aware of each other's existence. What's the most common building material? Depends on the place. For example, in the probably I would think one of the most common things in the fantasy or the modern or the magical continent would be like a guild hall or a guild type of place, because like you were there with all the magic and stuff like that, the animals would be a lot more fierce and scary, because everything, you know, the magic creatures can use mana themselves and create and do stuff. So there's also a lot more of like dangerous enemies there as well. So there'd be a lot more reasons for like quests and guild masters and stuff like that. So I'd say like there would always be a guild hall, there'd always be a shop. So that would be some of the most common buildings. And then in the like modern continent, it would probably be houses. Oh, the common building material, what would they be made out of? I don't know. I don't know much about that in the real world, like, so I don't know much about it. It would be something that I'd have to think about. Does the IRS exist? I am the IRS. I guess it depends on the government, whatever government you're in. Like some people, like for example, it really wouldn't affect the Sagans, because Nagasekt doesn't really use that much of currency. If anything, they would go by like a reputation kind of currency. Since they're very, very old school, or they would go by trading. So it depends on the government of the place. There was probably IRS in some places. Like it'd probably be an IRS in Heimenbach, if I were to guess. And Zlattenberg would have a different kind of IRS. I guess like IRSs can be a little different too. How common is magic among the populace? If it's rare, are magic users held in high regard or outcasted? Is there a nation that despises magic in all forms? So, if anything, well, it depends on which continent you're on. In the modern continent, magic doesn't exist. You can't use it. You have potential. In the magical continent, if anything, the people that can't use magic are shunned, and there's only very, very, very rare cases where you don't have magic. And a lot of the times, the people who don't have magic just don't realize that they have magic, because they don't either know how to do it, or they don't know their type, or their magic is really, really, really weird that they don't even realize that it's like magic. But then people that can't do magic end up turning to odd jobs such as like alchemy or mining or jewel crafting, stuff like that. Maybe woodworking, stuff where you don't necessarily need magic to be able to do it. And so far there's no magic hating nations or regions. There's no anti-magic people in the magical continent. They would be naturally going against your pull of wanting magic, because you were made from it. Well, you were made from mana technically. Am I currently dating anyone? So my 3 characters, Chompers is not dating anyone. No. Shiri is not dating one. No. They won't. Neither of them will. Well, Chompers might. Like I said earlier, Chompers has the highest chance of romance, and Yuki is technically dating someone, but they're dead. So, where in the world is the shop located? It is in Plumeland, and it is at the top of the map. It is basically bordering the magical continent and the modern continent. He's basically kind of like a gatekeeper. So he's at the tippity top of the modern continent, and he is at the bottom of the magical continent, though he is in the modern continent. What is the average air temperature? It depends on the place. It would be kind of like Earth, where it is hotter in the middle, where the equator would be, and it is colder at the bottoms, because that's how sun works. I would guess it's more like at the tilt, but basically middle of world hotter than bottom of world. Highest and lowest temperature in the world. Livable. Answer: livable. You don't die from the hottest and lowest temperatures. That would be my thing. That would be my guess. Now, if you jumped into freezing water, that's already like barely livable temperature, then that's your own fault. But what is everything measured in, and did different people have different tastes of measuring? I mean, just like this real world that we live in, yes, and yes. And what is everything measured in? I have no idea. You would have different things depending on the different place that you're in. So for example, like we could in Plumeland, we could have like feet, and then in Hemenbach they might have meters, and then in the magical continent they could have like, I don't know, like water as a measurement. I don't know. That one I'm not entirely sure on. It would just depend on the place. It would depend on where you are specifically. And the magical continent would have their own separate way of measuring things. And I mean, they might even be measuring things in like, they'd have a funky name for it, like wands or some sort of measurement. I mean, we have feet. That's kind of weird if you think about it. They might have hands. Maybe they measure things with hands. Is the weather similar to Florida? I would say Plumeland would probably be very similar to Florida. Be good for, I mean, it would be good for growing flowers because it's almost always sunny. Always sunny and hot, so flowers they wouldn't die because they wouldn't get killed by the cold. What is the circumference of the planet? I am not going to know the exact circumference of the planet. I apologize. I don't think I will ever need to know that, so I don't know. How many mountain ranges are there, and what are they called, and how big are they respectively? I don't know much about the mountains. I live in real life. I live in Florida. I don't know what mountains look like. I also don't know what snow looks like, so I'm not going to be able to write good things about mountains because I don't see them and I don't know about them. So I wouldn't be like, I would have to ask people about mountains. I'd have to research mountains first before I give you anything about mountains. I wouldn't know what they're called because I don't even know what mountains are called here in the real world, so I can't really answer this question very well. Is there a part of your world you avoid with all costs for any reasons? Yes and no. It depends on the character and it depends on the person. If it's a regular average Joe person, there's two places you never go in, and that's the my land, which is the elemental region. It is the second dangerous region in all of the magical continent. And then there's the Mirai, I can't remember what it's called, Mirai Mori, I think. Basically the Dark Forest, where it's Chomper's domain pretty much, and he doesn't, all the animals are like, imagine like skulls. Like if you're playing like like an MMO and like you're going into a new zone, and instead of having like where their level would be, it's just a skull. Imagine that's what that zone is like, and imagine you're level 60 or max level and there's still skulls. Like that's what the Dark Forest is like. You never want to go there. You never ever want to go there. You're just gonna die. You're just gonna instantly die. It takes you have to be either really OP, or you have to have knowledge and know exactly how not to die. But you're probably gonna die. So those are places that you should never explore. For Shiri, any part of the world that you avoid at all costs. Anything that isn't my flower shop would be something that I should avoid because it's causing me to not work, and also a chance of dying because I'm not in my territory. So anything that isn't my flower shop, I try to avoid. well, my flower area. The meadow is included in that territory. How technologically advances the world or the respective nations? Same as Earth for the modern continent. For the magical continent, very, very much more primitive because they care more about their magic than they do about technology. So it's more like woodworking as well as mixing it with magic. So you'd see like really cool looking lanterns and like cool houses and stuff like that, but they would mostly be all from natural ingredients from that world. How much atmosphere does the planet have and what layers? I don't know enough about atmospheres to be able to tell you that very well. I would probably say that just the same amount as Earth and what Earth has, because that's the only thing I have to go off of. How far is it away from the respective sun? I'm going to have to go with Earth again on this answer, mainly because I don't know much about what would cause for death. So when it comes to location from sun to Earth and anything that revolves around planets, I'm not an expert. I will just say Earth. Though this is not Earth, the world is named Ludus. I'm the only reference I have for my mind is Earth. So, how many planets in the solar system? 1. It is just Ludus. Do they have life and are they accessible? Yes, because it is only Ludus. There is life, and they are accessible because you are on it. But there and other like solar systems, I guess there would be other planets and stuff like that. But however, this is in its own special area. It is its own special world. It is considered an experiment. Ludus literally means game in Latin. So, does Costco exist here? If so, are the hot dogs still 150? Great question. You'll find out when you go to Costco's. I believe in you. If there are different races, which are the most common for which jobs, such as laborers and farmer? I feel like that would less matter about the races and more so matter about what magic affinity you have and what you're better at, pretty much. Like if you have no magic, you'd be an alchemist. Or like something that doesn't require a magic base, or something that like could basically substitute your magic or your lack of mana, like being able to hold it. And then if it's considering the modern realm, I don't know how to answer that question. Is there heaven and hell an equivalent? No, I don't think so. Because there's not supposed to really be any kind of god. I think they would just like, I mean, I guess their souls would exist, but like they would just kind of wander around. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that one. Like what kind of afterlife? There might be in reincarnation type thingies, or it's I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't think there's heaven and hell though. The equivalent of it. You might just like, I guess it would depend on if your soul still exists and where your soul goes. And if your soul ends up going into, I guess it would be wherever your soul ends up. If your soul ends up in like inside a husk that lacks a soul, then you'd be able to inhabit that. However, a lot of times when you lose your body and you die and stuff like that, you're not gonna have memories or anything like that, because a lot of that is stored in your brain. So unless things are engraved into your soul, like certain hobbies, or people are very special and everything was engraved in their soul, you wouldn't remember being reincarnated or turned into, you know, that type of thing. What do the other religions believe in for an afterlife? It would be the same as, you know, Earth. What's healthcare like? It depends on the place. It depends on how rich the nation / region is / country is. It depends on their culture. Considering there are 14 different places, you will have to be specific, or I will take hours explaining every single one of them, you know? Like if I could give you specific examples, whereas Lottenberg would have the healthcare would be very, very expensive, or they just wouldn't have healthcare in general, versus something like Hukians, who would have probably free healthcare, and it would be very good healthcare as well. What kinds of alcohol are there? How they make it? How they distill it? It would be like normal alcohol. Magical continent might have a special way of doing it, but probably normal for both of them. Is there space? No. No space travel. No space travel. Is there more ocean or land? I would say land. It would be an interesting mix. It depends on how big the continents are, because basically if there's not continent, there's water. So considering there's 10 continents, there's water between the 10 continents. So it depends on how much space 10 continents take up on the world. The rest of it is water. What is the liquid? What liquid is the ocean comprised of? It would probably just be salt water. What are the deep sea fish like? No one knows, because no one can explore the sea safely. Do they progressively get more disturbing the deeper you go? It most likely yes would be, because of the compression as well as the lack of sunlight. What is the apex predator? For the land, sea, and sky, it would depend on the every continent has their own, like their main. I'm really twitchy. I think it's because I've been recording for so long. It depends on which continent. All the continents are made from the source, so every source is going to have a different kind of apex predator. So it would depend. The magical continent would have like some insane thing. It would be like whatever you think of as like the strongest fantasy creature would probably be the biggest one. And then the strongest apex predator for like I said, it depends on the continent. It's like 5 a.m. for me now. I'm not good. I can't think about that. I don't know. I can't give you an answer because I don't know all of the creatures yet that are made. I don't even know the apex predator for like real life. So I couldn't even answer it for the monocontinent just because I don't know what it is like in real life. I would have to know what it is in real life. Are there any current wars going, or is the world currently relatively peaceful? Relatively peaceful because they just like 500 years ago they got over a war and they don't want to recreate that war. So yeah, so basically no current war, but there was a big war on both sides on the continent, the magical and the modern continent. There were two big wars. One of them was the magicals versus the draconics, the dragon type people, and then it was a civil war between the Usagans or Sagans. Have there been any wars that changed history? Yes, they didn't really change history, but it is what led it is part of history. Have any races been completely wiped out? Races, no. Countries, yes. Any kind of little settlements that were trying to be made around Zlatenberg would have been consumed, and Sagans were very close to being wiped out, but they were not. Like the Sagans from Nagasekt. Is there a dominating force / world power? It used to be Zlatenberg, now it is Hukia. And for the magical continent, it was the top dog is probably what's it called? Oh my god, Aurora, the capital city. It would be the capital city. So the capital city of Eurasia is Aurora, and then the capital city of Usaga is Yukia. Is there a race that is commonly outcasted and looked down upon? In the magical continent, probably yes. However, in the like modern continent, it's not really, race isn't really, I mean, people just kind of see each other as humans. There's not really like a dominating race among humans, just because like they're all the same, like unless they want to start looking at like culture and stuff like that. If it's like based off of where you live, and people really don't like Zlatenberg people because they were considered the antagonists of the war. And when it comes to the magical continent, it'd probably be some of the darker races like Dampier and stuff that they just assume is evil, so they just kind of like banish them. Are there any races that despise each other, like kill on sight type of thing? Probably in the magical continent. In the modern continent, no. The magical continent, yeah, there's probably like some races that just like hate each other, like drow and like dwarves or stuff like that. Has anyone split a particle? Probably not. Are there any weapons or magics that have been banned in time of war? No, but it's also in a state of cold war, because like while the modern continent can nuke, so can the magical continent. So it's like nuking will do nothing because both of them can nuke each other, but they also don't really know too much about each other's existence. Only the governments know about each other, not the common folk. Is there a humanitarian aid like the Red Cross? So you got the United Nations equivalent, but I don't know about the Red Cross because I don't know much about the Red Cross. What's the most common grain? I have no idea. What can you milk, and can milk be made into butter? If you're strong-willed enough and you don't care what people think about you, you can milk anything of your heart's desire, but it depends on the magic, like it depends on the continent. The magical continent, you can go ahead, try to milk that magical bull. Let's see what happens. And it's the same way as like milk, yeah, and milk will be able to be made into cheese if it is milk. Milk can be made into butter and cheese, yes. What is the commonest and most expensive cheeses? Chipotle Gouda. Do people have more showers or baths? It would probably be the same amount, but it also depends on the person, because some people may just take less showers or less baths. Is there molecular sciences? Probably in Lumitome, yes. How are the children educated? It depends on which continent you're on. Schooling is very, very important in the modern continent, so children are educated very heavily. In the magical continent, there would be different kind of, they would have different types of schools. One would be more focused on magic, and then there could also be the academic portion. So it would be more considering, like they care more about magic than they care about like academics, but you know, the schools would have academics as well. Can people be born with magic, or must they be taught that? You would have to be able to be. How magic works is that you turn mana into something. You convert mana into something. So you have to have the capabilities of holding in mana. So only people that were born from the mana source would be able to do that. So first of all, you'd have to be able to gain mana from the world. So you would have to be in the magical continent in order to even have a chance of having magic. And you would like then have to convert that mana. So if you're not like, you're born with like an affinity, and you're basically born with an affinity, and then you must be taught how to use said affinity, or you can just learn it by experience, but teaching is faster. Must be taught to the people that simply cannot learn magic no matter how hard they could. If you're that dense, yes, but it may just come naturally at some point. It's just like how some people are really bad at learning math because of some teachers, but it's just they learn in a different way. Are there bears? There are bears in the modern continent. There would be different kinds of bears in the magical continent. There would be an equivalent to a bear, but it wouldn't be called bear. It would, it'd be like a dire bear or something like that. Thinking back of if you learned alchemy from someone, who is your alchemy master instructor? Were they like Papa Bun? They're currently Ash. What do you feed the test subjects? Potions. Potions. Food wise, I don't know if they need food. I could just give them potions instead and see if the potions can feed them. So unless I need to feed them, it would just be potions. Like unless the potions aren't giving nutrients, then I guess I would, I don't know, give them kibble or something. Do they get alcohol? I can probably not. That would like, I want to keep them as neutral as possible for testing, so I would not give them alcohol because that might mess with stuff. Yeah, maybe I'll slip it in their doggy bowls when it's their birthdays, was my joke answer. What about a kitty bowl? You have bowls for each kind of animal. It's mostly just doggy bowls because they're the most accessible. And I mean, bowls are bowls. What's the difference between a kitty bowl and a doggy bowl? Size. I mean, like it would probably be doggy bowl because it's a bigger size. What's the equivalent of soap? Soap are prosthetics, magic, or mechanics. It depends on what continent you're on. If it's the modern continent, it would be mechanics. If it was the magical continent, it would be magic. Prosthetics would probably be easier to find in the magical continent, but you know, honestly, it might not be horrible to find in the modern continent either. They probably would, you know, depends. It could be expensive or it could not be expensive. Depends on how readily available it really is. Like on the resources, how to make it, and the schematics, and just like how easy it is to make it, basically. How does the garbage system work? Throw away the garbage. If there was ever another VTuber you'd want to have canon to the lore, who would it be and why? Ignoring drama, of course, very pog. If we're just talking about like their characters lore-wise, who has an interesting? I mean, like I kind of already have. Like if you look in the Bunny Blossoms like manga, there are a few characters. I feel like I've collabed with like Kami so much that like the natural answer feels like it would be Rikami. He's been in my world the most, so he feels kind of natural. But like anyone could be a part of the animal maid cafe as long as there's some type of animal. I'm stretching, by the way, if you're wondering why I'm like standing up so straight. That's a great question. I think I would go with Rikami. But it could be anyone. Anyone could slot into my world realistically and have some kind of purpose. You have an endangered animals list. Each continent would probably have some sort of endangered animals. Would there be a list about it? It depends on how much the people care. Is Shiri the only alchemist in the world? No. You basically get into alchemy if you can't use magic, but there's also other things aside from alchemy. So alchemies are rare. Alchemists are very, very, very rare. They're very wanted by people that like have magic because, you know, potions are always useful to have when you have magic, but they don't want to sacrifice like trying to learn and master alchemy when they could just be mastering their magic. Are there more people in that profession? Yes. How much does Shiri make money? Yes. How does Shiri make money? Selling flowers. Very lucrative business. Is Shiri a wage worker for a mega alchemy corp? I do not sell any of my alchemy. I am not an alchemist shop seller. I just make my potions. I don't sell them. Is Shiri a petite? I don't know what that word means. I know petite. I don't know Borgias. Do alchemists have trade unions? Probably not. I would say no. Because alchemy would be more of like a local type of thingy, or it's like you know, like because there's not a ton of alchemists. There's just, if you're unfortunate enough to not know how to use your magic or don't have mana, that would be the only time you'd really virtually want to be an alchemist. So there wouldn't be enough of them to have trade unions, I believe, and it would be like small time. Think of it like a little tiny hut, you know. Does Shiri have a daily quota for his work? Not really. I just sell flowers. Did Shiri invent soda? No. Does the magic of the world get channeled from the inside the mage slash cancer, or do they channel the surrounding magic and the environmental magic? So how mana works is you are taking the mana that you have been storing inside of you, and you're using that mana and converting it into whatever affinity that you may have. So there's 5 different schools of magic, to say. There's 5 primordials, there's 5 like affinities. There is theory, which is the magic of the mind. There is inevitable, which is the theory of, or the magic of law, the magic of the world. There is God, I have to look. Okay, elemental, I know that one. I can't look because I don't want to scroll up. So I just had to remember it's the most spiritual. There we go. Okay. So it's spiritual, elemental, inevitable, and theoretical. Those are the and also technically source, but that one's super rare. No one ever really has that unless you're like a main character, pretty much. So basically, depending on what affinity you are, for example, you could have elemental, you would channel your mana into converting it into, let's say, fire. So from that, you can do fire. And if you want to mix and match things and go into theoretical is basically your imagination. It can't be something that is like basically like if you were to make a sword out of nothing, it can't be something that's based in reality. So if you want to make it rain needles, or something along the lines of something that basically can't be explained by the laws, because the inevitable one, the magic that's inevitable, is basically like using the laws of the world. For example, you can make things wither or age, or like because things eventually get old, so you can basically like make someone like crippled for a bit. You can cripple someone. You can like one of the laws is, you know, like people grow, so you can enlarge someone, or like, you know, people shrink when they get older, so you know that could be another one where you make people tiny. You know, there's also things like telling a plant to wither, or a plant will bear fruit, stuff like that. So it works with laws and stuff like that. And then spiritual is working on emotions and stuff like that, so you can be more of like a buffer, a healer, you know, like make someone really ragey, and so you can mix like elemental with spiritual and make it so someone has like a fire rage where it's like a burning passion, stuff like that. And then, you know, a bunch of different like there's a lot of different stuff. And when it comes to like actually casting it, I want to kind of make a unique system where it's like it's either they just do it after learning more about themselves and researching and like studying and stuff like that, or there'll be different components to casting. Like there could be ritual casters or somatic casters, or, you know, different kind of casters that do different stuff. Very good question though. Thank you, Ren. I appreciate it. Can you get unfluffled? No, you can't. Is there a limit to magic? Technically no. However, it would take like thousands of years to like you think of it as leveling in a video game. Like if it is really easy to get from level 1 to 2, but when it gets to level 71 to level 72, the questing, there's a lot less quests, there's a lot less stuff to go around, there's like you have a lot less guidance you gotta try to figure out. You don't know what like build is best for you. You have so many paths to go down. You know, so like while there's no limit, it gets exponentially harder as you go on with it. But you can hone in your magic to pretty much like a T. I assume mana is a thing. How much magic you can use at once? Yes. Like, I mean, yes, and I mean, like, yeah, I guess it's limited to mana, but if you're talking about like your own magic in general, like you could just keep hindphoning it until it's like something doable, I guess. So yeah, but there is mana. Like someone who is able to hold in more mana would be able to either cast more spells or to be able to do more in-depth spells. So you work on your mana capacity. That's one of the things you do. So there's basically two different routes when you're trying to like master magic. You can either go down on like honing your magic, expanding your magic. Like basically you can either work on your magic or your mana. Your mana would give you more mana capability, meaning you can cast bigger spells and you can cast more spells. And then working on your magic would be able to get into more finer spells, more, you know, honed in, going down your tree, stuff like that. And so it's a balancing act of, you know, I could do this really cool spell, but I can either only do it once, or I need more mana to be able to even be able to do it. But there's no level cap, pretty much. You just have to put the time and effort to do it. Aside from mana, there is a limit to what magic can do. Not really. You're limited by your imagination, I guess. How much does Shiri in universe really know about the lore of the world? Pretty decent amount. Because he cares a lot about knowledge, so he'd probably know a lot about the history. Especially because he's lived through a lot of it. Does he care? Not really. But he like, does he care about current day stuff? Not really, but he does. He would know about it. He would know. He would know about pretty much. He would know about a lot of stuff, but not everything. Like, he doesn't know too much about the politics of like the magical continent. He would only know like how they got there and like the basis of everything. Like, he doesn't know who's on the High Council, you know, versus like you know, he doesn't live there, so he doesn't really know who the High Council members are. So they would be a surprise when he sees them. Has Shiri obtained divinity? No. That may be what he's working towards, though. Who knows? Does Shiri know how to make a grilled cheese? Yes. Don't listen to Austin. Does Shiri know what a bagel is? Yes. He loves bagels. I love bagels. Bagel. Do you? Yeah, I do like bagel. Does Shiri? I do know. I know bagels. Did we get it to the bottom? Oh, we did. Okay. The last question that you guys can't see, and we're just gonna keep it that way. Can you tell us any more about Chompers and the rest of the characters, like anything at all that you haven't said before? That'll be all explained in the video. And congrats, we made it to the last question. Holy. Oh my god. My brain's ouchies. I have almost been recording for about 3 hours. Of course, the video will be edited down a little bit. I'll cut out some of the dead spaces, stuff like that. So if there's some cuts, just know it's for your own well-being. Yeah, I told you it was gonna be a long video. This is answering all the questions about lore, whether they're silly or not silly. I tried to do my best at answering all the questions. If you made it this far into the video, you're insane. I'm so proud of you, and thank you so much for caring about my lore. I'm very passionate about it, if you couldn't tell. The fact that I'm staying up until 5 a.m. to, you know, do it and speak of it and all of this. And I'm still gonna have to edit it. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. I don't know. I very much enjoy my lore. I hope you guys find it and enjoy it as well. This has finally been able to put all of my lore basically into one spot. It's not totally in depth, but it has everything. It has every aspect of my lore up into one place. Everything could go into more detail, of course it can. But I've tried to sum it up as coherently as I could. Made a little scripty. You know, ever since the Q&A happened, it's been off script. Obviously, I didn't read through all the questions ahead of time. You got my brainstorming in action, and it's all in one place. And if you have any questions, you can always comment them down below. I will do my best to answer them. There will be, you know, a timeline down in the bottom where it shows, you know, the different settings, different characters, stuff like that. And then the Q&A portion. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for caring about my lore. And if you have any questions, that's always, you know, always comment them. I'm very excited for where the lore will head to, or where it'll go. And I don't know, I'm just happy with it. There should be a new manga eventually where it basically hires Yuki and Chompers, and then there will be more stuff that follows. And you'll be able to get more Yuki ASMR, maybe even some Chompers ASMR. Who knows, they might even sing a song or two. But thank you guys so much for caring and being here. And finally, the lore video is over. Bye-bye. And now I have to click the button. Bye-bye button. Click.